flock to our state and investment to Florida surge. We continue to set tourism records. 2024 saw more than 142 million visitors come to the state of Florida. This includes 3.3 million visitors from Canada. That's not much of a boycott in my book. Maybe they wanted to get a glimpse of what a Stanley Cup winning hockey team actually looks like.
A growing number of Canadians are putting their Florida homes up for sale.
There's a lot of Canadians selling, so I do have way more listings that I'm used to.
Real estate agents and homeowners in the Sunshine State are reporting an exodus of Canadians.
Housing market warning hitting Florida, and that's a big decline in one of the biggest foreign buyers of real estate in Florida, Canadians. With Redfin reporting that 26% fewer Canadians are searching for homes in the US in the last year. Some of the biggest drops occurring in Florida markets like Orlando, Tampa, and Miami. And this is having a big impact on the Florida housing market because Canadian buyers often snatched up second and third homes or condos. Now they're no longer doing that at the same rate, which is another factor causing inventory to go up and prices to go down. With year-over-year home values now dropping in pretty much every Florida metro area, particularly on the West Coast, and now even in Miami, values are dropping. However, could we see Canadian buyer interest bounce back later this year? And just how big an impact do Canadians and foreign buyers have on the Florida housing market overall? According to the National Association of Realtors International Transaction Report, over 41% of Canadian buyers in the US did buy in Florida, while 23% bought in Arizona. Meanwhile, the average purchase price of Canadian buyers in the US housing market was $834,000 in 2024, indicating that they buy higher priced properties.
There are now 26% fewer Canadians looking to buy homes in the United States now compared to this time last year. That's according to a study from Redfin. I'm Daryl Fairweather, Redfin's chief economist, and let me tell you what we're seeing in the data. So Canadians began losing interest in buying homes in the United States back in February, shortly after the trade war set off. And agents are telling us that Canadians are concerned about difficulties when crossing the border, and they don't want their money tied up in the United States when relations between the two countries are deteriorating. Canadians represent the largest share of foreign home buyers in the United States, so their absence is not going unnoticed. That's especially true in markets that rely on snowbirds, people looking to winter in warm places like Florida and Arizona. And in those markets, there are already far more homes for sale than people who are willing to buy them.
Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. So Florida is freaking out. Canadians who once flooded beaches and bought condos like crazy have all but disappeared. And guess what? Florida's tourism and real estate markets may be facing the kind of crash people only talk about in tabloid headlines. So let's dive in.
Canada, the Canadian Snowbirds are reducing their purchases of properties in Florida and Arizona and California in particular, and they are listing their properties at significantly higher percentages than ever before. Thank you, Donald Trump. And also the Florida Realtors Association have noticed that they have noticed an increase in Canadian listings. They are at 2 to 3 times the normal amount of Canadians that would be listing for this time of year and the last several months. Again, Canadians are listing at 200 to 300% higher than they normally would. Why is that, Donald Trump? They don't want to be the 51st state. They're concerned about ICE snatching them up. They're concerned about having problems at the border. All this impacts the economy, and many of you may not see it, but it does ripple through the entire economy throughout the United States. And there are Canadians that have purchased properties or vacation across the United States. Well, this isn't vacation dollars. That's another several billion dollars we've lost, not only from Canada, but worldwide, because vacationers won't come here either because of Donald Trump and because of ICE. So there you have it.
So I'm in Orlando and it's peak March break, and I want you guys to take a look at what it looks like right now. It's literally just my kids and one other couple in the pool, and this is peak March break. I'm starting to think that Canadians are serious when they said that they're going to start boycotting America and American products.
The Florida real estate market is in a 911 zone, emergency zone. Their inventory levels are 2018 levels, higher than 2018 levels. That means pre-pandemic. Corporations are selling. Small and big investors are selling. Canadians, who are the biggest buyer of real estate in Florida, which are foreigners, are selling. Airbnb, they're selling. Houses are sitting on the market. 30 to 40% price drops. If you don't take the offer, and most offers come with, hey, we want closing costs too, they're being warned by realtors that, hey, the crash is here and it's just going to get worse in Florida. And you have an offer today, and if you really want out, you should take that offer. Or you're going to have to sit through price discovery and hit rock bottom, because there isn't buyers. There is no buyers in Florida.
Whoa, did you just see that? A 26% drop in Canadian searches for US homes. That's not a dip. That's a face plant into the pool. So yeah, the narrative that Canada is just playing hard to get, nope. They are not returning texts. Canadian tourists made up Florida's largest foreign visitor group in 2024, 3.3 million visits, triple the UK numbers. Now, they are disappearing like SPF in an ocean windstorm.
And just like that, the Snowbirds are freaking gone. Look at this. Look at this road. I mean, I haven't seen anything like this since last September.
Look at this. Somebody come look at this. Look at this. Somebody come and look at this.
Basically, Florida's winter condos are being abandoned faster than a sandcastle in high tide. And Canadians are cashing out not because markets are ticking up. They are doing it because they don't feel safe or valued.
Damn. Canada's standing on business. And I don't blame them. Why go anywhere and spend money where you're not welcomed or wanted? Why? Why do that? Why go to Florida when majority of the people that live in that state voted for dementia? Why do it? So it's come out that the Snowbirds that come from Canada, you know, that's not a cheap thing to do, to just pick up and move for the winter. These people have money, dinero, dollars, and they have decided to take their money elsewhere. Even selling homes and condos and shit that they have over in Florida because of the president that y'all voted for over there. Goes on to say Florida didn't realize Canadians leaving would hurt tourism this bad. In 2025, Florida is waking up to a harsh reality. Canadian snowbirds are leaving and they are not coming back. And that's hurting businesses. Because you get a boom when people leave for the winter or leave for the summer, vice versa, however, you know, the back and forth. They are choosing now to travel to Italy and other countries that are welcoming. Countries that don't vote against their best interest. You wouldn't go to someone's house if they didn't really fully embrace you. You wouldn't go back there. You'd sense that vibe and say, fuck it, fuck them. And that's exactly what's happening.
That video nails it. Florida is not just losing tourists, it's hemorrhaging property owners. So what happens when that snowbird next egg exits the stage?
As someone who's lived in Florida for 30 plus years and bought her home in the recession, I bought my home in really this time of year of 2009, so 16 years ago. I understand why people are selling their homes now, and there's a lot of factors, so let's talk about it. And I'm getting a lot of comments in my previous video that Canadians who buy homes down here, they're a predominant demographic of international buyers who buy homes down in Florida are selling their homes, and also the Airbnb market. I don't know a whole lot about that. Maybe someone can weigh in, but the Airbnb market may be some of those owners are offloading homes.
Another day, another way that Donald Trump is actively making life worse for the very people who voted for him, this time in Florida. Mother Jones has a story on how Canadians, they don't want to travel to the U.S. right now. I mean, shocker, Donald Trump has done everything he can to alienate our neighbor Canada. Why would Canadians want to spend their money in the U.S.? Our president has threatened to invade them. Trump's illegal tariffs are hurting their economy. Tourists are being snatched up by ICE and detained for days and weeks. There have been tourists from multiple countries across Europe, as well as Canada, who have been abducted by ICE and held for long periods. For no reason at all. Why would you want to vacation somewhere where the American Gestapo might snatch you up? Where the leader of that country has threatened to invade your homeland? And I was actually surprised by this Mother Jones article, despite the fact that my parents lived for many years in Fort Myers. I wasn't really aware of how much Canadians are vital to the economy of Florida. In Orlando, Florida Governor Ron DeSantis brushed off reports that Canadians are increasingly not visiting the Sunshine State. As evidence, DeSantis cited his family's recent trip to Legoland, where he claimed that 80% of the people who were there were Canadians. Yeah, okay, bro, we believe you. So Canadians are the largest proportion, nearly 28% of all international travelers visiting Florida. And according to the Canadian Embassy, Canadians also comprise the largest number of international visitors to the entire U.S. But again, surprise, surprise, new tourism numbers for the first quarter of 2025 released by Visit Florida show that there has been a dip in visitors from Canada. Growing tensions between Canada and the U.S. due to U.S. illegal tariffs and the rhetoric from the Trump regime about adopting Canada as a 51st state, invading and occupying Canada. It's not an adoption. That has contributed to a shift in travel patterns between the two neighbors. Flights from Canada to South Florida have declined 20%. Visual Approach Analytics, an aviation data firm, found that Canadian travel had decreased 20% at the Fort Lauderdale airport and 12% at Orlando's airport between January and March of this year. Canadian travel agents are predicting a downward trend of travel not only to Florida, but all across the U.S. by Canadians.
Lower local spending, downsized restaurants, housing deals evaporating, insurance pocket punch. Tell me it doesn't smell like trouble. So the big question is, are things collapsing? And the answer to that is, things are not yet imploding, but the thermometer is definitely busting past comfort levels. A drop in Canadian tourists, a flood of Canadian sellers, dipping real estate activity. It's a perfect storm. Hit that like button if you want more deep dives into how global politics are messing with your weekend getaway. Comment below, and would you sell your Florida vacation home if your home country told you to stay put? And don't forget to subscribe for the next travel meets economic roller coaster. Stay warm back in Canada. So YouTube thinks you like this video over here. Thank you so much for watching. See you in the next one. Au revoir.